I will talk about Andemonium crudum. Well, Andemonium crudum cases are people that are very sensitive, very introverted, and very sentimental. Sentimentality actually as an excess here seals the Andemonium crudum patients. The sentiments are very easily excited, and the sentiments can become very powerful inside and can be overflowing. This kind of sentimentality, the easy arousal of the sentiments, and the sensitivity, on the other hand, affects these individuals mostly on the area of the solar plexus. And we know the impact of the emotions on the solar plexus, and in consequence, the stomach area. So therefore, Andemonium crudum cases are very sensitive in the area of the stomach, and the stomach will be the first one to show the imbalance, wherever it might be. So we have to imagine this open, in the beginning, open, sentimental, sensitive patients that are under stress, and the sentiments, they are becoming quite hurt, and the impact is taken on the stomach. Under such stress, they will withdraw, and they will usually become sulky, and they will live with their imagination much more than the real contact with the real life. It is for that reason that when they will lie in bed in the night, the sentiments will arise, and there will be a strong imaginative factor that will make them overexcited, and eventually this overexcitement will lead them to a state of anxiety. So anxiety in the night, lying down. It is also very, very peculiar that when there is something going on with their health, and the area which is affected is the digestive system. For instance, if they have digestive problems, they become over-sentimental. If they have fever, they become over-sentimental. And also, this sentimentality is apparent in women just before menses. And of course, it's well known that Andemonium crudum is affected by moonlight. It's the moon that represents a lot of the feelings that affects them so much, especially when they are in a sensitive state, when something has happened in their life and they are very stressed, and they will go for a walk, and they will look at the moon, and they will become almost ecstatic. The sentimentality becomes so powerful during that time. And it seems that it's connected with the Animonium Crudum, it's connected with that mellow light that comes from the moon, because they find themselves in that state of over-sentimentality. Also, if they are in a church when the windows are with different colors, yellow colors, and then the light comes through these windows, we are stained with different colors. That is the state, that is the environment where the Animonium Crudum patients, they become anxious and they are excited in their emotional state. The sentimentality of Animonium Crudum is so great that many times will lead them to do things which are foolish. And can you imagine this state where the emotions are beyond the control of the individual and lead them to express things or to do things which they look ridiculous? Concerning the Animonium Crudum children, I have found out that they look very much like Camomilla children. They are very much aggressive, dissatisfied, and complaining. You will see the Animonium Crudum child will not be able to sleep the whole night. He will be up all the time, and he will complain. He will show a kind of despondency. He does not know what is wrong with him, and without any reason. For instance, the mother will say to calm the child, okay, look at this car, it's a nice car. No, it's not a car. It's a car, But he is not happy, he is not satisfied with anything. I mean, here, let us go there, in this place where it's nice to your friend John. No, I don't want to go to John. Now, where do you want to go? You go to the child and you try to calm the child down or to talk to the child, and they will turn you will see immediately the reaction when you try either to touch them or to look at them. There is an immediate reaction. The reaction is very, very similar to Camomilla, and many times you will mistake for Camomilla, especially when you see the case superficially. The Camomilla state will come usually in the dentition period, where especially the young ones, they bring their first teeth out. The Animonium Crudum child can be 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old, and still have the same reaction, and you will think that he's teething. It is because something bothers him, and he does not know what it is that bothers him. I just remember a case of Animonium Crudum when I first gave this lecture in this summer in Alonissos. I had just prescribed in a child that was in Alonissos, not in the group, but connected with the group. I gave Camomilla because of such behavior. The child was not happy, was not satisfied, he was screaming, he had a little bit of fever. So I said, okay, give a dose of Camomilla 30. Gave it Camomilla and nothing happened. And as I was lecturing, actually, about the remedy, I remember the child, and I said, gosh, I mean, the child most probably is Antimonium crudum. And the reason was that I had been with their parents. Two nights ago, I had been having dinner with them. And the child asked for cucumber all the time. And that kind of behavior, a chamomilla behavior in a child that has desire for cucumber, is definitely an Antimonium crudum child. When I went out of the lecture, the mother came to me that same day. She said, well, we are worrying about the child, has now 4 or 5 days, has not slept, we have not slept, and we are here on a holiday. They were coming in from England, in Alonisons, and his father says that unless something is done for the child, we are returning tomorrow to England. We can't stay. The holiday was spoiled. The child was that kind of aggression, aggressive, of this. I mean, it's very difficult to find words. Now, chamomilla, it's a, you know, I refer to chamomilla children because most of you must have seen some chamomilla children. And most of you will have missed, like me, and given chamomilla instead of Antimonium crudum. So the child got at 10 o'clock, got an Antimonium crudum 200, I think, one dose, or 30 or 200. And by 10:30, he was asleep in the morning. And he slept, and after that, everything went okay. And some of you must have remembered this case. There is also an element which is running through Antimonium crudum, and it is a warm element which is within Antimonium crudum. Anything warm makes the Antimonium crudum worse. Whether it is something warm they drink, or outside warmth, or fever, makes them feel worse, or alcohol, whatever raises the temperature. And it seems that I have no tolerance in raising of their temperature, especially if they found themselves in front of an open fire. Then everything that they may have is aggravated. And here also we have an exception, again we have an exception where the headaches sometimes are aggravated by cold bathing. Cold water in the head may aggravate the headache. And then they have great prostration, weakness. And the weakness is quite strong, and it is similar to stannum. And there again, in Antimonium crudum, we find the loathing of life. We find the desire to not to live. It's not a suicidal disposition. It's a desire not to live anymore because of the prostration. There is prostration, but no restlessness. And in spite of the heat, there is a thirstlessness. There is no excessive thirst as one may have expected. Sometimes there are suicidal thoughts, and this is worse in the night in bed. You will see the aggravation in the night in bed, where the anxiety arises, the sentiments are very strong, and by that time, some Andemonium crudums will think of committing suicide, and the method by which they will contemplate to commit suicide is by shooting themselves. And of course, especially in disappointed love. Andemonium crudum, you can understand, because of the sentimentality, they will get attached. In a love affair, they will get attached to the other person very much. Due to that attachment, they become vulnerable. The sentiments are very strong. They are attached. Somebody, and the other person says, well, it's finished. They can't take it. And that is the time usually when they seek to shoot themselves. Actually, elements from grief in that respect, Andemonium crudum should be much higher. I don't remember in the repertory how it's, but if I remember well, it's not very strong. They develop, as we said, anxiety in the night and after midnight as well. And an anxiety about their future. They get easily discouraged, are persons that they cannot take very much the stresses of life, easily discouraged. Fear of death sometimes, not strong, but they can become fearful from noises, sudden noises, they become quite fearful. Irritability, as we said, in the children especially, and during headache. The irritability of Andemonium crudum is very strong during headaches. They don't like, why they don't like to be looked? Do you know why? Can you imagine? Because there is irritability and there is great sensitivity and the emotions are very strong. And usually looking to each other is not with great sympathy, usually. And it's an indifference. And they feel very vulnerable to this kind of looking. It's like as if somebody is bare, is open, and somebody else is looking inside him, and they don't like, and they will withdraw. The same idea with touching the Andemonium crudum. It's not that they feel painful if they are touched. They don't like to be touched. It is a kind of sentimental rawness, you know, like causticum feels like raw, like the skin is not there, and the pain feels as if the skin is not there, it's gone. Andemonium crudum, they feel as if the protection of the emotions are gone, and they cannot bear the touch of another person. And that is why we have aversion to be touched, aversion to be looked. And the child, when the child is in an Andemonium crudum state, that is why it becomes very irritable. And you will see the child behaving exactly like Camomilla, wanting the mother all the time to hold him. The child will not stay down, will not play naturally with the other children, will go to the mother, looks, at the time he comes to an Andemonium crudum state, looks very much to the protection, the etheric protection of the mother. And then he will stay there, and he will say, what's wrong? what's wrong? Yeah, and it's somebody else's process. And somebody else says, how are you? You know, he takes the eye. I mean, that is the reaction. I try to show you the vulnerability and the sensitivity of the remedy. You see, in that respect, it is that that Andemonum crudum does not like socializing very much. The socialization with Andemonum crudum is something that sometimes they can take it, but they don't like it. That's why in the books you will see misanthropy. You know misanthropy? What it is? They hate. It means that they dislike other people. It's not they dislike, it is that state of vulnerability. And when they are in that state, they become very sulky, very withdrawn. Can you imagine a very sentimental person, very withdrawn? Why? Because he's vulnerable and he doesn't want to be hurt again. How he can be hurt? By coming into contact. He does not want any contact. And he becomes withdrawn. And then that person that is withdrawn, he goes out in the night, walks along the side of the beach in Alonissos, looks at the moon, and the emotions are freed. He's alone, he's there with the moon. The light produces a kind of stimulation in the emotion. We don't know how, we don't know what happens actually, how can you find the pathology, but then that is really happening. The moon is there and the emotions are overflowing, and they can be writing poems and they can be very sentimental, and they can be crying, sentimental, what's called themselves, what's the word? Forget. I will remember the word. And when especially they are just broken in a love affair, the worst time is when they go to bed and they start thinking, and the emotions are coming, they are alone there, are coming, and then they see no outlet. And the impulse to kill themselves is so strong, they have to get up from bed and walk up and down before they can take these thoughts out, and then they can go back and sleep. You see in the text, they say, makes verses. But do you understand the context under which this may happen? It doesn't mean that every Andemonum crudum is a poet. It is the inclination there, it's the sentimentality. It is the state that you are looking for. Now, which is that state? I would like to show you a case. Now, and I will demonstrate in a case what I mean. It's not an Andemonum crudum case. But in this case, I show you what I mean by saying this is a case of that remedy. It's not that he has said desire sweets and wears warm, etc., that you come down to the remedy, but it is the state. And the case is quite a severe case. It's an inflammation in a child, 10 years old, an inflammation of the cerebellum, which the child, for which the child was hospitalized for a certain period of time, he was given certain remedies as well, because he could not walk. He had ataxic movements and uncoordinated, and I'm sure that you will be surprised with the selection of the remedy. Andemonum crudum is that it's enough. We'll see the case. Do you have the case on? Okay. This you can show a little bit the introduction by the practitioner.
He came in, I had treated him recently with cholesynthis with very good results for a stomachache. That was in August.
Yeah.
He came in acutely with varicella, with chickenpox, a few weeks ago, and was not, I didn't see him, he was not given a remedy at that time, and was progressing along, doing well, and then after about a week of the chickenpox, was starting to get better. Then on a Sunday night, he started to get sick, and his father called. So the dates are, the chickenpox started on the 9th of October. His father called on the 14th and said that Jacob was very weak and couldn't walk and was sick to his stomach, and that had started on the Sunday night. So I told him to come in, and when he came in, Jacob was very, very pale and had healing varicella lesions. They were pretty much dried.
He had what?
The lesions from the varicella,
the lesions,
the chickenpox, were pretty well dried. He was very, very pale and weak, and his father was carrying him.
Yeah.
And he said that he was very sad because he couldn't walk. And then on examining him, it didn't show right away. It was just lying back in his father's arms. But then when he would try to lean forward or try to sit up or move, he would start I guess it's an ataxic movement. He would be like this. And so, of course, I was afraid of Reye's syndrome, although his mental state was alert. And I talked to Roger Morrison. He came in and looked at him, too.
Yeah.
And we took him over to Children's Hospital to be evaluated.
Yeah.
They did blood tests and spinal tap and so forth, and diagnosed it as cerebellar ataxia, and then finally said that it was varicella cerebellitis, so an inflammation of the cerebellum. He was sent home, although he was very dehydrated, and was home for several days, and I talked to the mother several times. Oh, before I sent him to the hospital, I gave him Costicum 1M.
Yes.
And at the emergency room, which was probably an hour later, the neurological symptoms seemed a little less. They were not quite as severe.
Right.
But that was about the only response we saw with that.
Right.
They sent him home, and he was very dehydrated.
Now, one remark here I would like to make is, when you have a severe case of that type, and you give a remedy, and after 2, 3, 5 days, you see a little bit of response, forget it. It's not the remedy. In severe cases, the right remedy will immediately produce severe results, good results. So you'll have to know that depending on the severity of the case, you have the time span. The more the severity, the time span should be lessened. And sometimes you will have to have a reaction within minutes. When you have a hemoptysis and blood is coming, you cannot wait 2 days. In 2 minutes, 3 minutes, you have to have the result that the bleeding will stop, right? Depends. Let's see.
weak and not able to keep anything down. And I gave him, on the 16th of October, I gave him Carbo Veg 200 with no help, and then I gave him China 200, which helped a little. Mother and I both talked to the neurologist.
What was the second one that you gave?
China. Carbo Veg.
Carbo Veg, yes.
That did nothing, but the China helped a little bit.
Yes.
So the next day, the mother took him back to the hospital at my suggestion, and I talked to the neurologist there, and they did admit him for supportive care because basically he's so dehydrated and with such nausea, he's not able to keep anything down, which is cerebellar in origin, so it's not going to clear up very well. I've talked to her several times since then. Basically, he's very hungry, but he's not able to keep food down. I didn't take too much of a case. I thought you'd do that. If he moves or tries to sit up, then he'll vomit. And he still has the ataxia, the movement, but it's a little less than it was.
Pussy forward. Do you see these nice cases they brought me? Let's just fix it. Oh, yeah. Stop things and I can really well as necessary. Quietly like that all the time? He sits quietly all the time like this?
Yes.
He's
been more animated today.
He likes company? He likes somebody next to him?
Yes. Although he'll pull away.
He will pull away if somebody goes near?
Not all the time, but sometimes he just tires and pulls away.
I see. Jagger? No? How are you?
Good.
Oh, good. Feel okay now? He has, what he himself complains about? Mostly. What he says?
He's uncomfortable, and then...
How do you know he's uncomfortable?
He's hungry.
See, now, what do you see? What do you observe? Huh? First of all, you see that the child lies immovable, right? Now, is this a case of bryonia? It might be a case of bryonia. It might be a case of bryonia that doesn't want to move, that motion aggravates. It might be a case of bryonia. Now, what else do you observe? Huh? Well, here, the whole consultation will be only an observation, and you will see how. This is a little bit more.
Because he cries. He sort of...
I don't want you to tell me what you understand from him, what he does.
I see.
I mean, if he cries, or he screams, or he does this, he does that. Don't interpret.
All right.
And give me your interpretation because you confuse me.
Okay.
So what he does?
He sort of, cries.
Now, why I do that? You see, I am very aggressive, right? No, I don't want nonsense now. This is a serious case. They brought the case. There are 80 people on the other room watching, and they want to see after 2 days what happens, right? And I want to see the facts. You see, I don't want the mother to tell me stories. I want the facts. And that's why I become aggressive. I said, okay, don't interpret. Don't tell me stories. What do you know about the child? What he had said, the child, how he feels, right? Listen.
Way and doesn't want to talk.
Doesn't want to talk.
Yeah, doesn't want to talk about how he feels.
Well, he doesn't like it.
Doesn't like it.
I see.
Today he told me that.
You see the dryness?
Very dehydrated.
The dehydration. Did you see the dehydration? If you see his lips are very, very dry. The child is very dehydrated. He cannot keep any food inside. Yes?
Today he told me that.
Very, very dehydrated. His lips are quite dry, right?
Yeah.
Put out your tongue, Jacob. Put out your tongue. Yeah. His lips are dehydrated. His tongue is not so long.
He was.
His lips are dehydrated. His tongue is not so long.
He was in the hospital for. I'm sure you told him that.
Does he ask for water?
No.
No.
And most often refuses it when I put a straw up to his mouth.
He refuses the water.
Yeah. But I have to coax him.
Coax him. What's coax him?
Persuade.
Tell him he must.
He must drink. I see. But he does not want to drink.
Not really.
Not really.
Sometimes he's eager, but very seldom. 1 out of 50 times.
What changes have you observed in his character and the way he conducts himself? What changes? I mean, he was a very lively child, or he always like that?
It's a confusing question because he's not just one way all the time. Sometimes he's very lively and very excited about everything.
Yes.
And then other times he's mopey, and when he's upset about something, he doesn't want to talk about it and pulls away.
He was outgoing. When he came in, he was always able to answer his own questions when he saw me before, which is unusual for a child. He did very well with that.
Now here I know the remedy. You will see the remedy later on. What do you observe? Now, what is my analysis now in this case? What do I observe? I observe a child that is too serious for his age. Either he's suffering too much, has some kind of pains, that he has not. He does not complain of pains, right? But he's too serious, too sad, depressed. And the child, for me, as I observe, he has a depression. But the mother says, when I ask the mother, what I ask the mother is to see what my observation tallies with her observation, right? Is that child, I mean, see, he can't be, that's not the picture of a child, right? So the mother gives me the answer. What did she say? Do you remember? The mother says, this confuses me, because sometimes the child is elated, sometimes it is depressed. Remember that. Let's see.
He's afraid of anything? Very much? What he's afraid of?
Maybe being by himself.
Being by himself?
Being abandoned, I think.
Being abandoned.
Being left alone.
He does not love, so he wants somebody next to him, yourself or his
Yeah.
all the time.
You see now, very misleading. The mother says that the child is afraid. Is that there is dehydration. and there is fear. The child cannot stay alone. The dehydration, and the child cannot stay alone. Wants the mother next to him. What's the remedy? Phosphorus. Let's see.
Hold his hand.
No.
No, just to be there.
Yeah, I
Not
move in and out of the room and all around, and then I sit down and I'd be right with him. And I've been stroking him and massaging his body.
Yes, and he likes that.
Yes, that seems to bring him out.
Massaging his body. Another symptom of phosphorus. Massaging his body. Massaging phosphorus, he likes it. Massaging his body. Look at the, I would like to see eventually the misinterpretation. How you can go one way or another, and how the differential diagnosis becomes very difficult unless you go to the heart of the matter. What the mother said to me, for my mind, in order to differentiate, she says something which is contrary to phosphorus. I said, does he want you to hold his hand? She said, not actually. I can be just around in the room, and then eventually I can go and hold him. Well, that's not exactly typical of phosphorus. The phosphorus would like the contact, would like the security of the mother all the time in a such state. Phosphorus in a such state. Let's see.
But he sits like that now. He doesn't respond very much. He sits very quiet. Mm-hmm. Is that usual now?
Yeah.
What he does?
Yeah.
That's not his character. He didn't used to be so quiet and like an angel, eh?
Yeah.
Jacob, how old are you? Do you know? How old?
6.5.
6.5. Very good. Can you lift him up to see how he responds if you lift him up?
I'm going to lift you up, Jacob, and just have you sit up, okay? Can you help me? Come on. Can you sit up by yourself now?
Oh, the ataxia is much better than it was.
Yeah, let's see. Do you feel tired? Jacob, do you feel tired? You want to lie down? Just put him around and just let him sit. Let him sit. Oh, take him in your lap. Just hold him in your lap, sit him. Have you lost a lot of weight?
Yeah. There.
Did you try to test his
Grip.
his strength, grip?
Yeah.
Did you try?
In the beginning,
Oh, he's strong.
with the jerking movement
Yes.
all over.
Just give me your hand. Give me the hand. Give me your other hand. You have no more strength, huh? You feel very tired?
Push it a little forward.
Sorrow.
You see the what did I ask you?
What you
Just a little bit backwards to hear the question. Yes?
make him unhappy before? Was anything happening in your house where he might have been in grief or in sorrow?
You see, what is the characteristic of the child in general, looking at the child, is sorrow, is sadness. That is the main thing, becomes the main characteristic of the child. The sorrow of that child. Can you see his face? This is the face of a child. That's the face of somebody who is really suffering. He is in deep depression. So when I see that, I want to know why he's in that state. Is that because of the disease? Is it a characteristic of the disease to be on that state? Now, what has happened? I would like to know. Why I like to know about this particular aspect in this case? Because I see it very prominent. You see, the main characteristic of the child is grief, sadness. Something must have happened. Now, what can have happened in the life of a child of that age? What can happen? Is it, I mean, do you have to be a magician to find that? Huh? What? Well, I didn't hear. Parents. The conflict. Parents. Something is happening with the parents. The parents most probably are divorced. Most probably. That's the first idea. Parents are divorced. Now, things are going on in my mind now. I start thinking, right? Now, is this a case of phosphorus? This is a case of phosphorus. It doesn't look like, because he's too depressed. He's too depressed. Jens is giving me symptoms of phosphorus. But the child is too depressed to be phosphorus. Now, what has happened? This is a side effect. It is not side effect. It is side effect of chickenpox. Is this mental state? Is it because of the chickenpox? No. So what has happened? Most probably the parents are separated, and he is very sad because of that fact. Now the idea comes to my mind that what is happening with the child is that the child must have felt tremendously insecure by losing one of them, one or the other. And that has brought about a tremendous grief on the child. The grief must have brought a state in which the child got the epidemic, the chickenpox. The chickenpox found an organism that was under grief, very low, and progressed to the cerebellum. And then he goes to the hospital, and they said it is an inflammation of the cerebellum after chickenpox. What you do? This is nothing. We can do nothing. We can do it. You just take your child. I mean, they just wanted to get rid of the child. They said, we don't know. Maybe he will become back again. Maybe he will stay for his life in a semi-paralytic state. But most probably something will stay with him for life. Anyhow. So let's listen to the story. It's very interesting.
Did he watch you or your husband fighting in front of him, or he was very sad because...
I think right now there's lots of talk that Jacob, that's what I'm sensing throughout this whole thing, is that Jacob overhears this talk between his father and I about the house that I'm in and the people that are in the house, and that the little girl that lives there, Amanda, is she's difficult to be with, and so there's lots of talk about it. Do you want to lay down, sweetheart?
What do you feel? What do you have, Jacob?
What do you feel?
You see, now as the mother talks, I observe the child. Have you observed? Do you see, as she talks about that subject, how the grief in the child becomes deeper and deeper and deeper? And then he can't stand it anymore. And he will become aggressive. Then I want to see the reaction. So I don't allow him to lie down. Because he feels better lying down. No, he will not lie down. I want to continue and to observe what's happening. And I want to find out, because otherwise you can't help the child. I mean, Kausikun was given when China, Cabo Vegetabilis, and the whole of Materia Medica can be given without any effect. I mean, do you think it has an effect? No. I said, hey, a little bit better. The child can go on for months and for years, a little bit better, but still on a paralytic state. Okay, let's see what she says.
She wants to lie down.
Yeah.
Why? Why, Jacob? What do you feel?
Bad.
What?
Bad.
You feel bad. What? You feel nausea? You understand the word nausea?
Feel nauseous.
Do you want to vomit? Huh? Do you want to vomit? No. Why do you want to lie down? Why? Why, Jacob?
It feels good.
Good if you lie down. What about... Keep him a little bit longer and then we'll put him.
Yeah.
Jacob, were you upset about something? You remember? That you had something that made you upset? Huh? Past week or... No? Nothing made you upset? Are you telling the truth? Why don't you look at me?
Don't want to.
Why?
Don't want to.
What is this?
I don't want to.
You don't want to look.
I don't want to.
You don't want? Why? If you're saying the truth, why don't you look at me?
Because I don't want to.
What?
Don't want to.
You don't want to. Yeah. But why you are so sad? You're very sad. Something made you very sad. Do you understand my question? Yes. What made you so sad?
Nothing.
Nothing? Nothing. Jacob. What makes you so sad?
I think, too, in answer to your question, that his father and I aren't together as man and wife, and that I've sensed that that's an upset for Jacob, and I've opened that up to his father, Joe, in the last couple of days, because it's been so much in the space. And feeling like that's something that's unresolved for me, and Joe admitted for him, and thus for Jacob, I would imagine. So
you were very upset during that period, last month or two. You were very upset.
Yeah.
Especially upset. Are you connected?
And wanting to clarify it, wanting for his father and I to define.
Why do I inquire about the last period, 2 months, when he fell ill with chicken pox? You see, the child seems to have a problem because the parents are in not good terms, they don't stay together, etc. But what I feel is that 2 months ago, just before falling sick with chicken pox, the child must have had another shock to bring down his system. This condition cannot come just like that.
Are you
and wanting to...
All right. Yes.
Wanting for his father and I to define our relationship so that it would be clearer for me and then for Jacob, and that we could live our lives according to some truth, rather than it be sort of fuzzy and Joe comes in and out of our lives and we function as a couple a lot of times, but there's so much unsaid between us that it leaves everything unresolved all the time. So it's always, and I'm to where I want it resolved. I want it changed. So I've brought that to Joe's attention, and he's doesn't like it. There it is. It's been in this space a long time.
What you say, it's already a known thing for Jacob.
A known thing?
Yeah, what you have said so far.
I think so.
He knows already.
I think so, yeah.
And you are very connected. He is very attached to you?
Mm-hmm.
He's very attached to you.
And he's very attached to Joe, his father. Very, yeah, very. We're both, I think, very close to him.
Yeah.
And very special to him.
Yeah.
And he to us. And we live and operate in terms of we, as a unit. Except not all the time, and it's confusing to me.
Was Jacob's moods before changing quite a lot?
Yeah.
As you said before.
Mhm.
He was very changeable in his moods.
Mhm. And there seemed to be something disturbing him. And also, I've been assisted by the state welfare program for the last, since Jacob was, since a year after he was born, and had quit work just before he was born. And then I made a vow to be with him for at least 3 years, and here he is, 6 years old, and I'm finally going back to work.
When?
Just a month ago.
A month ago, you decided to go back to work.
Yes.
Oh, wait a minute. Now, when did he fall sick?
How long's it been?
Chickenpox, you were in the clinic on the 9th of October.
Right, so I'd only been working maybe 2 weeks.
So 9 October 10, this is 20, that is already 14 days. About 14 days.
Yeah,
and
right.
1 month ago, you decided to go to work, and you left him.
I didn't leave
And you went to
him. I didn't leave him. That's
you
what I
discuss it?
didn't. Yeah.
You told him that you are going to go to work.
Yeah, and that I was going to do it gradually, and that he would be staying, same thing would be happening. He would be staying with Joe on Monday and Tuesday, and he goes to school on those 2 days anyway, and then Joe picks him up and he lives at Joe's.
Right.
And then Wednesday and Friday he'd be staying at school from during school and then till the evening time, unless Joe could pick him up. And that I was going to be busier, that I was going to be doing work for this other person so that I could make my own living. And that's a big thing.
Yeah.
It's a big thing for he and I,
We discussed it. We discussed it with him. You discussed it.
I told him. It's not like we had a discussion.
Yeah, but you told him
he
that
didn't say much about it.
this is what's going to happen. He never reacted. He never said anything. He never complained. Huh?
Right.
Did you?
Do you hear the story? 1 month ago, the mother tells the child, now I'm going to leave you, I'm going to work, you are a grown-up, you're going to stay sometimes with your father, sometimes with me, we are going to discuss now as a grown-up, blah, 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 and all this American way of putting things, business-like. But the child is in a state, he is not well. And what happens is that the child gets a shock, has a grief, and the grief is a silent grief. He doesn't talk. He hears the mother, but he does not respond. That is what has happened. Let's see a little bit more.
Either that he was not being able to sleep in the night or something like that during this time. He was uneasy, restless, more things like that.
Just more withdrawn, I would say. Probably, yeah.
Did he had a good appetite before?
There was some
Always some problem.
fluctuation there, yeah, with his appetite. And I would say that one of the biggest issues during this whole crisis around the ataxia is the food. You know, not knowing what to give him, giving him the wrong thing, being termed wrong after he then vomits it up.
Right.
And I gave him the wrong thing.
What does he like, please? Did he ask for something all this period of time?
I think he asked for Cheerios.
Can anybody tell me what I'm looking for, what information I'm looking for now? Well, my main driving is to ask whether the child eats fruits or not. And that is going to become very important. Why? Because so far the information I have is that the child is in grief. That is silent grief. If you look in your repertories, you will see the remedy. That the child's mood is changeable. Changeable mood, grief, silent grief. And what he says is that he has convulsions if he's sitting. Look at your repertory, convulsions sitting. Did anybody find it? Can anybody tell me what are the remedies there? What are the remedies? What are the remedies? In Ignatia, Natrum Muriaticum, Pulsatilla. Ignatia, Natrum Muriaticum, and Pulsatilla. And where did you see convulsion in generalities or where? In extremities? Sitting. Where sitting? Where sitting did you find? Where sitting? Anybody? Extremities? Extremities? No, it's not there. Convulsions? Generalities? Generalities? Not sitting. It's not there. Yeah, let me see. Just a minute. Has anybody found? What? Sitting aggravate. Well, what are the remedies? What? Many. No, sitting aggravate in general, no. Wait a minute. Which are the remedies? Anyhow, what? No, it's okay. Ignatia has, now I can't find the symptoms anyhow, but you says you will find it, has this kind of situation where if try to sit, there is this kind of convulsions or correct movements or whatever it is, involuntary movements while sitting. Ignatia and cuprum are the main remedies for this kind of state of affairs. Now you may be able to find it. Alf, can you find it? What? Korea? After grief. Korea after grief, Ignatia. We're sitting. I would like this. We're sitting. Yes? Korea? Line on the back ameliorates. Very good. Yes, that's. chorea lying on back ameliorates, while sitting is aggravate. You see the child how he likes to lie down. Give a little bit more information.
I think he asked for Cheerios.
Cheerios.
They're little Oreos, you know.
What else? Yeah.
This morning, I mean, you know how I call him little names? I said, you know, what's up, peanut butter, you know? So anyway, I guess that implanted in his mind, because then about an hour later he goes, what about peanut butter? Could I eat peanut butter? Because he's trying to think of things that he could eat that would
Did he used to eat a lot of fruits before?
No, not a lot.
Does he like fruit in general?
Not really. I haven't been able to get him to eat much fruit.
Because if you see aversion to fruit, you will see Ignacia is one of the main remedies. When they go, now what is important? You see the child how he stays in a silent grief. That is silent grief. That is in our book, it says silent grief. Now, what you see there, that is silent grief. When I try to describe, I'll say words. Now this is what it happens. The child did not react. Silent. He took the grief inside. He did not react. This is the way that Ignacia and Natum Muriaticum children will react. But why don't we go to Pulsatilla? Why don't we go to Pulsatilla? Because the Ignacia has exactly that symptom that the child has. Wants to lie down, sitting has an aggravation. And Ignacia, together with cuprum, there are two remedies only that have this condition. Not only that, but that stage in a child where Ignacia, Pulsatilla, if it was the child was Pulsatilla, what he would do? He would cry. You will see the same thing said, but he will hold his mother. He says, now what he does, he stays like that, immovable, just like that, with all this grief inside him. So much grief. Huh? This is not impressive. Okay, let's see.
But he's been eating mostly cereal. Mostly, that's all he wants.
Can you say that there is a period where he stopped eating fruits from that period on? Can you define such a thing? Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Sometime shortly after we moved into this house that we're in.
That new house that you are living now.
Right, we've been there for a year.
His father also lives in this house. Oh, that means from that moment you did not live together in the same house.
No, we haven't lived together since.
Do you see what happened? The child was taken by the mother in another house where they stay now. And as soon as they was taken to the house, the child stopped eating fruits. It's not stopped eating fruits, it went into an Ignacia state. The child is in an Ignacia state since 1.5 years. That is now the diagnosis. Now, the diagnosis for this child is Ignacia 10M. That's what he needs. Did you say in a case of inflammation of the cerebellum? Yes. It doesn't matter what it is. That picture is Ignacia. I don't care about the diagnosis. You see, they gave causticum, they will give cuprum, etc. They will give all kinds of local remedies trying to cure the child. The child will never be cured in this state by these remedies. It needs one remedy only, and that is Ignacia. You can't replace that. You see, causticum is also worse grief. Why not causticum? And also causticum has the paralysis, has the pathology, and does nothing for the child. Just push it forward in the meantime. Push it forward until you have the follow-up. Now I took the case. I went inside to the class. Now I analyze in front of you, and you see Ignacia. I went inside to the class, and they argue. You know, nobody thought of Ignacia. But anyhow, the child was given Ignacia, and I asked to see the child 2 days later, because the child is not eating. I mean, you can't just wait. How long you are going to wait? He cannot keep anything inside. The first thing you have to see in that child is that he starts eating. You cannot wait anymore. He's dehydrated. He's not eating. He cannot keep liquids. I mean, well, he has to be hospitalized just to give him some saline, right? That's why I asked to see the child 48 hours later. Alpha vertebra. How big is it? No, you don't want. No, all right. Put the follow-up. What bothers you, Tenem? Sound okay? Yeah, because maybe I'd like him to wear this and yes. You get a microphone today. So, how is it?
You can see, yeah?
Yeah. It's much better.
Oh, much better.
Much better, yes.
It was shortly after we left here on Friday, he felt better.
Yes. And did he start eating the same night?
Yeah. A little bit. We started him off slow.
When he really, his appetite returned?
Yeah.
Yes. You see, in video, they will never give you the real story. The real story is that the practitioner who was given the case, I said, you telephone tonight to tell me how the child is, because I was worried, you know. Ignacia, but you want to see the result before you see the Ignacia, you see. So the first thing I would expect in such a case is that immediately the child will start eating. He took the remedy, within 1 hour the child must start eating. So I asked the practitioner, I said, you telephone in the night to see what happened. The mother said, his appetite is so great that we cannot, I mean, I'm afraid to give him. He's asking for anything, for everything. She does not say that. She said, we started him slowly. You see, what she says is, I'm afraid. I mean, he was not eating for so many days. Suddenly he asked anything. I mean, shall I give him everything? He may be upset in his stomach, but his appetite is immediately better. And his mother tried to monitor his diet. I mean, there's no... I mean, this organism, he knows what he wants, whether he can keep food inside. His mother is not going to tell him what he can keep or not. Neither before his mother could make him eat anything. But anyhow, let's see.
Next day, pretty much.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And that was Saturday, right? Saturday. And you took Friday the remedy. And how it went? And his appetite was Friday night. Friday returned to normal. All right, keep on.
More than normal. Yeah, he wanted to eat constantly. Saturday he ate all day. One thing after another.
I see.
Little bits of bland things. So
and food stayed immediately. I mean, he didn't vomit at all.
No, and no upset stomach either. So. And he was pleased, very pleased.
Yeah, I see.
Well, let me try. And then I told Vicky he was talking about pizza and spaghetti and meatballs. And I went, no, not yet. Not quite yet.
When did he get up and started walking? And did he on Sunday? On
Saturday, he wanted to move into the wheelchair, so we put him in the wheelchair, and then he started moving the wheelchair around.
I see.
And he just got a good sense of control with that,
I see.
with the wheelchair. And then shortly, I think that evening, he wanted to crawl out of the wheelchair onto his bed, and then he would crawl into the wheelchair himself.
Saturday evening already.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That is 24 hours later.
Push the next interview. The next interview is about, I think, three weeks later. It must be 2 to 3 weeks later. You will see the next interview. She grew up into a nice girl, huh? Can anybody do this? I hope you didn't forget that also. It's a pity, you see. Oh yeah, all right, okay, just take your time. It is a pity that we did not have the follow-up with the Anthracino. You will, you would have seen something. You see here where the diagnosis was based. What I wanted to tell you, if the observation, my observation was not there, the mistake was definite. Either phosphorus or cuprum because he had the spasms or the paralysis, or any other remedy except of Ignacia. What brought out the Ignacia state? It was the observation. But what is the observation? What I have learned to look on the person. I do not hear words. I also observe who is in front of me, what is doing, that's very important. And that is what I'm trying to give in the lectures. But it's so difficult, again, to describe with words what you can see. Can you forget this state of grief that this child was? I think we will give him, we'll have a small interval. We'll take a little bit more time in the end, if you don't mind. And we'll give him a little bit of time to find the next follow-up. Taking it.